Hello and welcome back. Okay, did you watch the last video where I went over checks and balances? Because I hope you did. And if you haven't, quick, put this video on pause and go watch that video because you'll gain a lot more with this video. This is like part 2 and this is the quiz, okay? This is what I like to call the branch check challenge that goes over the social studies checks and balances. So go watch that video if you haven't already. Okay, friends, let's get started. Question number 1. Which branch of the U.S. government is responsible for making laws? Executive, legislative, judicial, or administrative? Hint, my friends, administrative is not one of the branches. What is the answer? The legislative branch. What is the primary function of the executive branch in the U.S. government? Okay, remember, what is the executive branch? The president, vice president, and cabinet, right? So do they interpret laws, make laws, enforce laws, or amend laws? The answer is enforce laws. How can the judicial branch check the power of the legislative branch? By vetoing bills, by declaring laws unconstitutional, by appointing judges, or by enforcing laws. Again, we're looking at the judicial branch, checking in on the legislative branch. The answer is declaring laws unconstitutional. In 1954, before this time, schools were segregated based on race, really depending upon where you were located. But the Brown versus the Board of Education case in 1959 said, no, we cannot do this anymore. That's unconstitutional. And now people of all races can be in the same class. Which of the following actions can the president take to check the power of Congress? Okay, remember, Congress is the legislative branch. Declare a law unconstitutional, veto a bill, impeach a senator, or amend the Constitution. So what can the president do looking over Congress or the legislative branch? The answer is veto a bill. How can Congress override a presidential veto? By a simple majority vote in both houses, by a unanimous vote, remember everybody, in the Senate, by a 2/3 majority vote in both houses, or by a 3/4 vote in the House of Representatives. Friends, go back to your notes and see. The answer is the 2/3 majority vote in both houses. That is what can unveto a bill. What role does the Senate play in checking the power of the president regarding treaties? Okay, we didn't really discuss this one quite as much. So the Senate can veto treaties. The Senate can declare treaties unconstitutional. The Senate must ratify or agree with treaties, or the Senate can amend the treaties. Remember, amend is to change. So what can the Senate do? The Senate can amend the treaties. Which of the following is an example of a check the legislative branch has over the judicial branch? The power to appoint judges, the power to declare executive actions unconstitutional, the power to impeach judges, or the power to enforce court decisions. What can the judicial branch, the legislative branch, do over the judicial branch? The answer is they can impeach the judges or go through the process. Maybe a judge had some sort of act of misconduct. Impeaching is going through the process of getting rid of that judge, right? That's what the legislative branch can do. How does the system of checks and balances reflect the principle of separation of powers? Remember, separation of powers is just making sure that there's not tyranny, there's not a dictatorship where one person or one group is in charge, right? So A, by allowing each branch to operate independently without interference. B, ensuring that no single branch becomes too powerful. C, by combining the powers of all three branches. That makes me think of Captain Planet, where they take the wind, the water, the fire, bring them all together, and it's Captain Planet. Is that what they're doing here? Or D, by giving all powers to the legislative branch, the almighty legislative branch. What does checks and balances do? B, it ensures that no single branch becomes too powerful, right? This is why we have checks and balances. We don't want one branch to become too powerful. They are all equal. What is the purpose of judicial review in the context of checks and balances? Okay, so judicial review, so that means the judge, the judicial branch, right? So to allow the president to review laws before they are passed. Does that really have anything to do with the judicial review? To enable Congress to review the actions of the executive branch. To allow the courts to determine the constitutionality of laws. Or to enable the states to review federal laws. The answer, friends, is to allow the courts to determine the constitutionality of laws, right? So the judicial branch makes sure that the laws that the legislative branch makes align with the Constitution, right? Which of the following best illustrates the concept of checks and balances in the U.S. government? So we're thinking all three here, right? Which one addresses all three? The president appoints a Supreme Court justice and the Senate confirms the appointment. Does that have all three? The Supreme Court writes new laws to address constitutional issues. Congress enforces laws passed by the legislative branch. Wait a second, isn't Congress the legislative branch? The president declares a law unconstitutional. Does the president do that? No, that's the legislative branch, right? So the answer is A. The president appoints a Supreme Court justice, so that's president, Supreme Court, or the judicial branch, and the Senate confirms the appointment. So that's all three branches. It's really balancing that checks and balances all together. And we made it to the end of our branch check challenge. So, my friends, I hope that you did well. If you need to go back to the video where I go through the entire lesson, definitely head back and watch that video so that you'll do a little bit better on the branch check challenge. And then maybe try the branch check challenge again later today or tomorrow. Maybe you'll understand the concepts a little bit more once you've taken a little break and reviewed. And the more you practice, the better you'll get. But just to remind you, this is the most important concept on the GED or HiSET Social Studies test. So make sure that you've got it down pat. Friends, thank you for being here. I believe in you. Make sure that you believe in yourself too. And I will catch you in the next video. Peace and God bless.